In the UK, protests have begun over the government's most savage spending cuts in decades. $130 billion will be stripped from the public sector, with each Whitehall department facing cuts of around 19%. The measures will hit the rich hard, but they'll strike the poor even harder, as Europe correspondent Emma Alberici reports.
By nightfall, the extent of the cuts had started to sink in. By 2015, 500,000 public servants will be out of work. Some of the police trying to maintain order here might well have considered jumping the fence. Many of them will lose their jobs too in the British government's new age of austerity. The Chancellor's $130 billion worth of spending cuts are designed to wipe out Europe's biggest budget deficit within 4 years.
To back down now and abandon our plans would be the road to economic ruin. We will stick to the course. We will secure our country's stability. We will not take Britain back to the brink of bankruptcy.
Every Whitehall department except health will receive a blow from the Chancellor's axe. But the government has managed to protect schools as well as hospitals and foreign aid by identifying $30 billion worth of welfare cuts and lifting the retirement age to 66. George Osborne told the House of Commons that he would end a system that had allowed those on benefits to earn more than some in the workforce.
The scale of the cuts to public service spending that we're now facing over the next few years is probably on a scale similar to that we saw in the late 1970s and early 1980s when the UK was following the IMF's austerity plan. So it's certainly a very severe squeeze on public service spending of the sort we haven't seen in several decades.
The Institute for Fiscal Studies has analysed the government's spending review and measured the likely effect on different socio-economic groups in Britain.
The Treasury's own analysis published today suggests that the measures announced today do disproportionately hit lower income groups. Taking together all the measures announced by the new coalition government with the policies they inherited from the last Labour government, it is still the case that the very richest are probably paying more than the poorest are. But certainly the new measures introduced by the coalition government have tended to hit the poorest more.
The banks are being made to pay back some of the billions they were given when they were on the brink of collapse during the financial crisis. They'll be hit with a new tax in each of the next 4 years.
They thought the banks would continue growing. They thought by borrowing and lending, the economy would continue to grow, and it was a self-fulfilling goal. And of course it isn't. It was a bubble. It was a cycle of 10 years. We did extremely well, and we all felt wealthier, but it couldn't last.
Did the former Labour government engage in what the coalition calls reckless spending?
Without a shadow of a doubt, the Labour government is entirely responsible for the mess that the UK is now in.
The Labour opposition is warning that the government's plans put the UK's economic recovery at risk by cutting too many services too soon.
I think this slash and burn approach runs the risk of actually damaging our economy. Yes, we have to get the deficit down, but we have to do it in a sure and steady way that ensures that there's some momentum in the private sector picking up, that we've got growth in the economy.
There's little evidence that the protests outside Downing Street will turn into anything like the riots in France or before that Greece. They're more likely to blame the Labour opposition than the government. Most Britons seem convinced enough that the cuts were unavoidable. Emma Alberici, Lateline.